Is Beretta's 1301 Tactical another entry into the legendary catalog of Italian semi-automatic combat shotguns? Am I going to fill this video with absurd hand gesticulations and pasta memes? At least one of these things is true. Stay tuned. What is up, guys? My name is John with Pew Pew Tactical, your definitive source for gun reviews, gear guides, and all things... Mamma mia. Longtime viewers of the channel will probably know that I don't really do a ton of shotgun stuff. I own a full-sized 870, and I shoot it maybe once or twice a year, and outside of that, most of my scattergun experience is probably pretty close to yours, in that I use it to blow up CRT monitors in the desert. So when I found out I'd be reviewing the 1301 Tactical, Beretta's flagship semi-automatic shotgun, I was admittedly a tiny bit intimidated, as I don't get the opportunity to use semi-auto shotguns very often, and I always want to come off as at least semi-competent with a particular platform before I deign to get on my soapbox and offer an opinion out there to you at home. Thankfully, the 1301 probably couldn't be more forgiving for someone as new to the ins and outs of keeping a semi-auto shotgun fed as I am. So, here we go. From front to back, while there are a few different models of 1301s floating around at this point, our specific model features an 18.5-inch barrel with a magazine tube that comes a little bit shy of sitting flush with the business end, although newer models appear to come stock with a mag tube extension that winds up putting you at a 7+1 capacity, but alas, ours sat around 5+1 if memory serves. Do keep in mind, however, that's measured with an actual 2 3/4-inch shot shell, and depending on what kind of ammo you're feeding through this thing, your ammo capacity might be off if your shells wind up being a bit larger than 2 3/4 inches. Additionally, our 1301 came with a magazine tube plug pre-installed to ensure the gun's compliant with whatever hunting laws require one to only have 1 in the chamber and 2 in the tube at any given time, which is a bit odd for a semi-auto shotgun with tactical in the name, but so it goes. It's a quick fix and removal in any case. You've got a bladed front sight and matching ghost ring rear for fast target acquisition and a modicum of precision if you're shooting slugs or other loads that are slightly less point and shoot than shotguns tend to be. And they work quite well, although you've also got a pick rail up top for the installation of a small red dot if you'd like. We didn't go that route this time, but I'd certainly look into something like an RMR or a Holosun 507C next time around if I were to do it again. The 1301's elongated handguard runs almost the length of the entire barrel, and features some pretty damn aggressive texturing that allows you to get positive retention while running the gun, as well as some grooves that allow a shot shell to neatly fit in the swell while you've got the gun gripped with your support hand to facilitate the most tactical of reloads. Spicy meatball. You've probably noticed that chunky-ass charging handle by now, as it's pretty hard to miss. The 1301's oversized fire controls, to me, are one of the coolest parts of the shotgun. I'll go into the mechanics of it all when we get to our range portion, but needless to say, running a shotgun quickly isn't exactly easy, especially if you haven't already built that muscle memory, which means that having large controls makes going faster just that much easier. Compared to a lot of other semi-automatic shotguns on the market, the 1301's charging handle is downright enormous, and more closely resembles a cabinet doorknob than a firearm component, but, you know, in a good way. Just below that sits the 1301's bolt release, intelligently placed just below the ejection port to facilitate a hyper-fast bolt drop during a tactical reload from a locked bolt. Although, considering the manner in which the 1301 operates, tactical reload might not be the correct terminology, as you're likely going to be breech loading the gun quite a bit. I'll explain. Somewhat uniquely, the 1301 won't chamber around when you rack the bolt unless the hammer is down, which means that in order to chamber around, you've got to either pull the trigger on an empty chamber, which I'm not particularly a fan of, or utilize the small button on the bottom of your lifter, which is going to spit a round out of the magazine tube and have it sit on the lifter ready for you to chamber it. It's kind of a strange system to get used to, but I can see why it'd be useful if you're doing some very shotgun-specific tasks. Let's say you're rolling around with a round in the chamber and for whatever reason you decide you want to pop in a specific shot shell right into the gun without unloading your entire mag tube, such as a slug or a magnesium disc round, whatever. As long as you're manually cycling the bolt without either pulling the trigger or hitting that button on the bottom of the lifter, the 1301 isn't going to chamber another round from your mag tube, meaning that you can safely eject whatever round was in the chamber and pop the shot shell of your choice right in. Langdon Tactical actually has a short and sweet explainer video that I'll drop a link to down below. Just aft of the breech is a large cross-block safety button that's also texturized, and the gun's trigger is quite nice and crisp, coming in at right about 4 pounds. The stock is pretty much your standard shotgun stock setup. Nothing fancy on this particular iteration, but there's a model that comes with a Mesa tactical stock and pistol grip if that's your jam. The stock is quite short for a shotgun, coming in at just 13 inches or so, but there are indeed spacers included if you need to get a little bit more distance with them ape arms. For reference, I'm 6 foot even, and while the minuscule length of pull feels much different than my full-sized 870, I think it fits quite nicely with the overall compact feel of the 1301 after I got a little bit used to it. So how is it run? Beretta claims that its blank gas recoil system is approximately 30% faster than any other semi-automatic shotgun on the market, and while I certainly don't have the time, skill set, or host of other shotguns to really test that claim out, this thing does indeed feel fast. We ran a huge variety of both bird and double-aught buck through the gun with only one small, kind of bizarre issue. We managed to get the gun to double feed and lock up a couple of times, and some research after the fact appears to confirm that this can indeed be caused by hitting the bolt release in just the right manner with their round chambered, such that, when fired, the gun both spits a shell out onto the lifter and attempts to chamber another straight from the magazine tube, resulting in a quite obnoxious traffic jam inside your breech. Notably, this issue has apparently been addressed on Gen 2 1301, so I really wouldn't worry about it too much. If you're on the market for one of these bad boys, just ensure that you're grabbing the latest version, and you should be good to go. Also, the issue didn't really seem to occur after we ditched that mag tube capacity blocker, so it could indeed be exacerbated by limiting the tube to 2 rounds, combined with shot shells that perhaps aren't exactly 2 3/4 inches. Outside of that, the Beretta 1301 is pretty damn fun to run, although I probably don't have to tell you that throwing a couple hundred rounds of 12 gauge downrange in a day is a great way to just kind of rattle the hell out of your skeleton. At about 2 pounds less than the Benelli M4, which is probably its closest point of comparison, the 1301 does feel like it jumps around a little bit more than a normal shotgun. But that's not really a point against it, as it's obviously the natural trade-off that comes with an 18-inch barrel, smaller overall weight, and minuscule length of pull. The 1301 feels sleek and points naturally, and again, while I'm the last person who's going to speak authoritatively about shotgun skills and drills, the fact that I found myself even feeling halfway competent with it after just a few hours and a couple hundred rounds with the gun should tell you something. Again, as my semi-auto shotgun experience is effectively nil, and I wasn't even running a rig particularly well suited to keeping this thing fed. My only real laments are that I actually didn't have more time with the 1301, both to continue to familiarize myself with its ins and outs, as well as tweak a few things more to my liking. There's a fair amount of parts available to trick this thing out with on the market by now, and a mag tube extension, forward rail, and sling point mount immediately come to mind. Although we've since tossed a GG&G pick rail up front, which works okay, just be sure not to mount your light on the same side as your support hand's thumb. Ask us how we know. Additionally, building out a shotgun-specific rig would help a ton with fluidity in keeping the 1301 topped up with ammo, as shotgun loading drills are obviously unique and quite different to most other gun-related actions already cemented in my gray matter. Were I ever to get the chance to attend a shotgun fundamentals course sometime in the future, all of these things would be no-brainers beforehand. And if that's on your bucket list as well, I'd say look into it. So where does all of that leave us? It's a bit strange to offer an opinion on the 1301, as it's by far the longest time I've spent with any semi-auto shotgun to date, because it's the only one I've spent significant time with at all. That being said, I had an absolute blast with it, and it's nice to know that the issues I experienced with our particular 1301 have already been addressed by Beretta in the 2nd generation, which also includes a threaded barrel for the addition of a choke, a relocation of the serial number for custom work, and an aluminum Picatinny optics rail instead of the Gen 1's plastic one. If you're in the market for a tactical shotgun that's sleek, runs well, comes with a host of rad features right off the bat, and isn't going to break the bank, I'd absolutely recommend getting your hands on a 1301 and seeing how you like it. It's affordable at right around $1,400 or so, and perhaps best of all, you're not going to need a ton of add-ons to get it running right out of the box. Alright guys, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please go ahead and subscribe, hit the button that's down there. There's a bell somewhere that'll tell you when we upload new videos, but hint, it is almost always Thursday at 2:30 p.m. Pacific time. Time isn't actually real, but if you need a reference point, I don't blame you. Also, huge thanks to Gun Prime for loaning us the gun, which we like so much we actually decided to purchase. Thanks to Texas Shooting Academy for letting us ineptly shoot a semi-automatic shotgun there. And also, we've got shirts. I am wearing a shirt right now, as is the generally accepted way to go out in public without facing legal penalties for not wearing a shirt. That's a trash truck that is outside of our building right now. I'd love if you buy a shirt. Just buy a shirt.